welcome back to another episode of No Money Spent. We've got one of the craziest events in the Warp Speed event currently going on. I'm not gonna lie, when I saw the 99 speed, excel, and agility on a lot of these players, needed to pretty much burn as much of my collection to improve the team, and that's exactly what I did. I've talked about this a lot in all of my other ranking videos when it comes to the Warp Speed event, but in my opinion, these are kind of the events that you are going to want to spend as much of your collection. You're not going to have a ton of regret because they essentially offer you months of playability, and we don't know, because of the slow progression so far in NHL 25, and especially because we're getting in later in the year, just how long it will be until we see 99 skaters again, much like the Gallery of Greats event. So that being said, I went out and I made Mike Modano, Peter Bondra, who is one of the coolest releases that EA has done in years, in my opinion. And then I finally upgraded my left-handed defense to get Scott Niedermayer's 99 speed and acceleration and agility card. And I gotta be honest with you, this has been my favorite card of the bunch to use. In reverse has always been kind of a lackluster ability because most often you don't really want to be back skating when defending in NHL just because of how the game is played. But being able to back skate at 99 speed has been awesome, and I've really enjoyed it. Able to stay in position just the way that you have to defend those L2s down the boards and things like that. So I've really enjoyed Scott Niedermayer's card, and I'm glad that I made it. When it comes to the right side and Brendan Montour, I've already got Colton Parayko as well as Cale Makar's Team of the Year item, so he would just replace Axel Sandin Pellikka, and he would probably push Cale Makar's Team of the Year card down to the third pair. I just don't think the value's there for that. So for this week, I went with Scott Niedermayer, and I'm completely okay with that. Now, when it comes to the only other remaining Warp Speed Master Set player item from week 1, that's Marty Necas, and that is a card I desperately want to make. Nathan MacKinnon has been great, but I would love to have a second line of Nathan MacKinnon and Connor McDavid. It just allows for much better matchups. So if I can get Martin Necas' card to be my number one right-handed winger to go with Modano and Bondra, that's really the goal, and then we'll see what happens in week 2. For the rest of the lineup, I've got Fabian Zetterlund, who is now an Ottawa Senator, and I gotta be honest with you, looking at the ice time and just the matchups, it looks like he's not getting nearly the same opportunity. Now, he only needs 3 goals. He is a very streaky scorer, but nonetheless, I was 99% sure that he would get to 99 overall with the Sharks. I'm like 75% sure he will with Ottawa. I think he will. It would be pretty crazy if they traded for him and he just doesn't score a goal. And then lastly, on my fourth line, still have Jarome Iginla, Yzerman, and Kucherov. I am going to upgrade Kucherov to his 92. I still think that for the account-bound players that you got back from making Connor McDavid, Kucherov was one of the easy ones to make. He gets up to 93 speed and excel, 97 agility, and then his hand stats are in the high 90s. I'm in kind of synergy hell right now because of the new Master Set player items, and I'll figure that out, but once I get Sniper Forward activated, it just helps out with his shot that much more. And man, I am going through it in net. So in the last few episodes, I've talked about Adin Hill. It got to the point where Adin Hill literally wouldn't even stop the easiest of wristers that were unscreened. It legit got to the point where I'm like, I can't even trust you to just make a completely unscreened regular snapshot save. So I had to move on, put him on the bench. Went with Jordan Binnington, and he hasn't been any better. You can see my record here. I'm 12-12 in champs and Division 2 rivals, and he has been worse statistically, but for whatever reason, I feel more confidence, but I'm probably going to have to make the switch back. To be honest, I might just go back to the Master Set Yaroslav Askarov just because I'm a fan of the Sharks. Now, when it comes to making the Warp Speed Master Set items, like I mentioned, this is an event where you want to burn your collection. No matter who you make here, you are not going to regret them. Even in a month or so when Team of the Season comes out, Team of the Season, unless those cards come out with 99 speed, they have shown that they are just going to slowly progress every single card, and I would rather just have these guys, to be honest with you, and that doesn't even include week 2 that we're about to get, which could have even more exciting players to go after. The collectible sets, man, everyone has been talking about the 4x79s. You see on Reddit and social media everywhere posting their big wins and their big pulls. Again, I pulled 5 of these, and my high was an 82. Everyone posts their wins. They never post their losses. If you want to shoot your shot on pulling something bigger, go ahead. Don't blame you guys. I'm not personally, because this is an event, in my opinion, where I don't want to mess around. You desperately want to make as many Master Set player items as you can, and I'm doing so with the 89 overall Warp Speed player because that is a guaranteed card working towards a Master Set item. Understand that if you do not pull an 89 overall from this set, you've wasted those collectibles. I know there are other cards that you're going to get that can work towards your collection and other things in that scenario, but again, you have to pull an 89 or you've kind of wasted a lot of your resources. Now, the one thing I have enjoyed is that I've just been slowly working towards the objectives, and because I made 3 of the Master Set items, I've just been playing Rivals more than I ever have because the event has been actually really fun, and I'm slowly working towards just getting it done, and it's really nice to just have these objectives completed by playing the game. Now, so rarely do we get Master Set items that you want to put on your team and play with on your first line, so it's not very common, but I think that because this event is so strong with the cards they've released, this is one of the times where it's actually been nice to just play the game the way that you want and get stuff that will work towards making Master Set player items. Now, I want to point out something for maybe newer players, and when you get big pulls, specifically for the event, or when you've got a specific card that reaches a threshold. So I was able to pull the tradable Chandler Stevenson, and technically he can be used for the Master Set player item set. When you pull something in like this in this scenario, and this goes for all other events as well, if you go and take a look at what this card specifically will sell for on the auction house, you can click that by just clicking the card and then going down. You can see that I could sell Chandler Stevenson for basically 86,000 coins. Why that's important is because you can go ahead and sell this, which I will do, because you will make these untradeable by whether it's other trade-ins or just getting your objectives done, things like that. You do need 2 other 89 overall cards that will be used in the set. And as you can see, 89 overall sell for like 47,000 coins. So you could basically get 2 of those by just selling that card. Always something to keep in mind when you pull a high tier event item that is tradable. So just wanted to point that out. Make sure you're checking what the individual cards will sell for before you're using it in sets. So just to show you guys, I'm going to sell it for 86,000 coins, and then I will buy the 2 89s that are required. And again, like I mentioned, if you've got a lot of stuff saved in your collection, this is an event in which I would try and make as many Master Set player items as you can. If you want to wait for week 2, that's fine. When it comes to what cards you should throw into these sets, honestly, I'm going all the way up to 88s with these. I would try not to throw 88 overalls in the 85 and above set, but that's what I'm doing just because they're all basically the same value. 88s might have more value later on, but they don't right now. And as you can see, I was actually able to pull an X Factor, and because I have no interest in making the Barkov or anything like that, I'm actually just going to sell them for like 95,000 coins, and that would be pretty huge, but that was a pretty big pull for me. But again, I'm just going to use the coins I get from here to make more Master Set player items. The other thing I want to point out is how useful the XP path is when you have a good event and you haven't burned through it immediately. For anyone that burned through the entire XP path by saving up all your XP, that's great because you got all of those rewards immediately. But for anyone that didn't, and this event has gotten you to play the game more, I'm earning so many of these collectibles that I'm turning into packs to make stuff for this current event, simply because I'm playing the game more, because I'm more interested in it, because the event is so good. So I think that's just an advantage of like not burning through the XP path, using it as it's intended, and you kind of get a glimpse of like how it could work if the XP path was perfected. Now, I did stop at 9 wins this week. I didn't really have an interest in the Beliveau, so we got the Hut Champs Mega Pack. We'll see if we can pull anything here. Rip it live in the video, see if we can't pull anything, and we do an 85. That's huge. Again, we need 85s for the Warp Speed trade-in. We get another 85, my boy, Mikael Granlund. 83. Another 85. That's an 87 overall event item right there. Okay. We've got a Team of the Week pull and a couple 80s. So let's get something big here. Why not? An 88 Chris Tanev. Excellent. Okay, so that was an absolutely solid pack, and I'm actually okay that I stopped at 9 wins. Now, the fun thing about this event is that the cards are actually somewhat usable, even the non-Master Set player items. Like this Steve Sullivan has 94 speed, and that's before getting speed boost when you're cashing them in to make Master Set player items. So the fun thing is you can actually throw them in your lineup and then play online with them. That's completely okay. So I think that's what I'm going to do with Steve Sullivan. I'm going to throw him in the lineup. So what we're going to do is we're going to take out Fabian Zetterlund, and we'll throw in Steve Sullivan. And actually, we are going to make the change. I'll move on from Jordan Binnington, and I will throw in Yaroslav Askarov, because why not? Can't get any worse. So we'll go ahead and kick things off with some Hut Champs. So we kick things off. I'm in the defensive zone, and anytime that you get an opponent who's cycling down low, I always like to just cover the points with my winger. So I select McKinnon, and I'm just trying to cover both of these passing lanes. And what that forces my opponent to do, curl into the middle and just send a brutal pass right into Niedermeyer, and then I'm on the breakout. Taking full advantage of that speed with McKinnon down the boards. And when you get into a 2-on-1 situation, don't just wait until you get close to the crease to fire it in for a tap-in. You can take full advantage of the one-timers from quite far out, and in this situation, Modano just absolutely drills one, and we're up 1-0 early, and Modano making a big impact. Right off the next face-off, I break into the zone with Connor McDavid. Nice little curl back, and watch my opponent. He tries to cover the pass back to my defenseman. However, he tries to cover Scott Niedermeyer at the point instead of Colton Parayko. So after I curl back towards the net, he leaves Parayko wide open, and I just drill one short side, and it's immediately 2-0. Now, late in the first, off of a face-off win with Palika, I send it back up to Modano, over to McKinnon. Nice little L2 to Mohawk through the blue line, and I don't know where he's going and what he's covering with his defenseman, but I take the space available to me. I go forehand, backhand, and that's going to do it. He quits out, and we've got our first win. So, not a bad start for Hut Champs this week with all of the Warp Speed players. You guys are just seeing the speed absolutely dominate right now. But let me know who you made from the Warp Speed event so far. I'll see you guys next episode. Have a good one.